Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a while, but a lot of you guys know me. But if you don't know who I am, my name is Shook. I play, make content for NFL, NBA stuff, and yeah, we're finally back. So it's been a minute. Hopefully, you guys have had a good off season and excited to be back. We got Casey at Baltimore here, so we'll just go over the total and stuff real quick. Come on, man. But so excited to be back. It's been a long wait. Casey's 3-point favorites, I believe. Yeah, 3-point favorites. Total 47. One of the higher totals on the week, I want to say. Yeah. Should be a good game. One of the better games on the slate for the week. So really excited about that. Before we get into the breakdown, I do post all these videos on this Reddit called DF Sports. I make a post. You can ask me questions about the slate leading up to the lock. Pretty much anything you need will be over here. And if you ever need to get a hold of me privately, you can get a hold of me on Twitter right here. I will answer all you guys' DMs, anything like that, any questions talking about the slate. Or if you just need something, I'm here for you. So, yeah. And if you want more in-depth content, I'll have my Discord link down below. So I also post sportsbook plays on Twitter and stuff like that. So before we get into the slate, as you guys know, I show you guys my results every single night, and I show you guys my results for the years when we do our first slate of the year. So that's what we'll be doing before we get into the breakdown. This was my results last year. Had a 26% ROI last year. This was with cash and GPPs, mainly most of my volume in cash games. As you can see, I filtered the dates to the start of the season and the end of the season there. So there's no fugazi stuff going on with the results. You can clearly see it start from 9:07:23 and on 1:06:24. And then my lifetime results, 9% ROI lifetime. I believe been playing NFL for like 4 or 5 years now. So pretty good over there. Very important to be transparent, in my opinion. So that's yeah, what we do every day. Show you my results every day. Show you the results for the year, how we did on the year, and stuff like that. So let's get into the slate. There's a lot of mispricings on this slate. There's just going to be clear chalk cash games. We'll go over cash games. I think it's very straightforward. Going to be a very chalky week, but let's go over the news that we have so far. Mitchell's going to be out. That's pretty important for Baltimore. And then not much else there for Kansas City. CEH is going to be out. Marquise Brown going to be out as well. Even in the player pool. Funny, did he change his name to Hollywood? I know his nickname's Hollywood, but maybe they changed his name. I must have been out of loop. But yeah, Hollywood Brown out. CEH is out. They signed P. Ryan, Tony. That's the main news for Kansas City. So let's go over it. Let's start with the quarterbacks here. So most people just give you kind of like the best plays. I'm going to do my best to like go over like roster construction and stuff like that, how to build your lineups, how you're building good lineups, because someone can give you all the plays, right? But you could still make pretty bad lineups with good plays in your lineups. You have to tell story in Showdown. Correlation's pretty key in Showdown. I'll go over some stuff that a lot of people don't know with correlation, mainly the kickers. So yeah. So like, for example, I think Lamar Jackson's one of the best plays in the slate. I think both the quarterbacks are 2 of the best plays in the slate. They're both too cheap. In my opinion, I do prefer Lamar Jackson to Patrick Mahomes right there. On the road, they're 3-point dogs. Lamar Jackson has ton more rushing upside. You know, I expect them to throw the ball a decent amount. With his legs, just the 4+ ceiling combo. They're close in price point. So yeah, I much prefer Lamar Jackson to Patrick Mahomes, but I think both are going to be staples for me. I kind of find it hard getting away from like both of them in most of my lineups. If you're playing cash games, you're definitely going to want both in your lineup. There's a lot of value on the slate to fit them in with the missed prices. So both the quarterbacks on the slate just look absolutely phenomenal. Like I said, if I had to give an edge, I do give an edge to Lamar Jackson to Patrick Mahomes, but I think yeah, both look phenomenal. I am seeing some Derrick Henry slander for this slate. I actually think he's a pretty good play. I don't think people are going to click on him. I think if anyone's going to click on anyone, I think it's going to be Isaiah Pacheco. Well, I do think Isaiah Pacheco is the better play to Derrick Henry for this slate. I do think Derrick Henry's probably going to go a bit under-owned in this situation, and let me explain why. So you got the price points here. Derrick Henry, 9K, Pacheco, 8.4K. Both are going to be bell cow backs. Both are going to get a ton of volume. Both are going to play a ton of snaps, right? Baltimore, thin at running back. Kansas City, thin at running back. Pacheco, their favorites. They're at home. He's literally $5 running back, right? So Pacheco going to be a lot more popular than Derrick Henry. I do prefer Pacheco to Derrick Henry. I think they're both solid plays, but I think Henry's intriguing at GPPs for the sole fact that all the position players below like a Travis Kelce are a bit underpriced. I have a hard time believing people are going to go out of their way to play a guy like Derrick Henry, especially since they are on the road. They are dogs, so he could get scripted out of this game. Now, Baltimore in the past, even if they're down like 7 points, they still will run the ball. But if it gets more out of hand, you could see Derrick Henry getting phased out. But if Baltimore keeps this game competitive, and with how thin Baltimore is at running back, I do think Derrick Henry is a very, very intriguing option in GPPs. I definitely have some interest in. But if you're not regarding ownership, I think Pacheco is just overall better play than Derrick Henry. Even straight up, in my opinion, not even point per dollar, but point per dollar, much better. But I do think Derrick Henry is very, very intriguing in GPPs there. Now we get into wide receivers. We'll get to the first complete misprice, in my opinion, in a second, right after Zay Flowers. I have no strong takes on Zay Flowers this season. I just think he's kind of mad. You have Mark Andrews back. He was dealing with issues last season, wasn't healthy for the whole season. But Flowers probably going to lead the team in targets, probably going to lead the team in receiving yards. He's going to be their go-to guy, right? Him, Mark Andrews. No real strong takes. I think the Kansas City wide receivers look a bit better, but if you want to get different in GPPs, I think Zay Flowers is fine. Just no strong takes. I think he's priced right. I think he's fine. And then we get into the absolute piss nuke, in my opinion, in Mark Andrews. How do you beat Kansas City? The best way to beat Kansas City is, short passes, short routes. Andrews, a guy that's going to be targeted a ton. If you look at his price points, look at his price points. Why is he 6.4K here? I think he's one of the best plays on the slate, in my opinion. I love Mark Andrews. There's like 5 best plays in the slate. There's just so many misplays. Both the quarterbacks, Mark Andrews, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, all phenomenal plays. So yeah, Mark Andrews going to get targeted a ton. Him, Zay Flowers, going to dominate usage. The best way to beat KC. Those short routes, right? Getting targets. So high floor, he gets targeted in the red zone a ton. So he has a ceiling on top of that. So yeah, Mark Andrews just way, way too cheap. I think he's phenomenal. Then we scroll down. Then we get into the disgusting stuff here. There is a guy I do like here in GPPs. I think Justice Hill is very intriguing. I actually took his over receiving yards at 8.5. Mitchell is out, right? So Justice Hill is going to be their pass down back. Going to be third downs, stuff like that. They are playing away. They are dogs. So if you're playing for a game script here and you think Baltimore is playing from behind, I think Justice Hill is really, really intriguing. I like him quite a bit in GPPs. Don't think he'll get much ownership at all. Like I said, I like his props on sports books. So Justice Hill, like quite a bit in GPPs. Bateman, I have a hard time paying that price for Bateman at 5.2K. If you want to take darts because he'll be unowned, that's fine. I just have a really, really hard time paying that price point for him. More of like a large field GPP dart, in my opinion. And then we get to the kickers. So on this slate, I don't think the kickers are as good of plays as they normally would be, just with all the misprices on this slate. But generally speaking, on showdown slates, kickers do go a bit underplayed. And a lot of people don't realize kickers actually do correlate with their quarterbacks. Like, say you're playing a Lamar Jackson captain lineup, I would pair him with that still at least one pass catcher. You can still do 2. So let's throw like Mark Andrews in there. What's stopping you from throwing in, Tucker, right? They do correlate with their quarterbacks. If your quarterback scoring points, most likely your kicker is scoring points as well. So that's one thing to keep a note with showdown slates. Kickers do correlate well with their quarterbacks. So no strong takes on the kickers. I think they'd be much better plays if we didn't have all this value. But I think they're good. If you're playing like Patrick Mahomes, you want to pair him with Butker. If you're playing Lamar Jackson, you want to pair him with Tucker. I think that's completely fine. I'll go over some roster construction stuff at the end. Already went over Hill. The defenses, they're just there. They always get ownership. Just there for me. Don't love it. Nelson Aguilar playing out of the slot. low floor, or sorry, has somewhat of a floor, but I don't think the ceiling is there. I think the Chiefs cheap wide receivers are a bit better, or just playing Worthy for like a couple thousand more, I think is better, or even like a Noah Gray, who I prefer on the KC sides. Like Nelson Aguilar is a fine dart. I don't think he really has the ceiling. He'd probably have to get into the end zone to reach the ceiling, which is fine. But there for me, Isaiah Likely, I think he'll get run. Ravens do run decent amount, 2 tight end sets. I think he'll probably be out there for like, I don't know, maybe like 30, 40% of the snaps, 2.6K. It's fine. If you want to pivot off like Noah Gray, that's okay. I think Gray will pick up some ownership. But I do prefer Gray to Likely. Just there for me. It's fine. Don't really have too much interest in anyone else here for Baltimore. But the real standouts here are Lamar Jackson. I like Derrick Henry and GPPs. Mark Andrews, absolutely love. I like Justice Hill in GPPs. That's mainly it. And then if you want to, like, you know, if you're playing Lamar, if you want to make some correlation stuff, you could play Justin Tucker, right? Likely some interest in Aguilar, just fine for me. Moving on to the KC side, Patrick Mahomes, yeah, love. Travis Kelce at 9.6K. So if you look at the price points, kind of the same thing with like Derrick Henry. I don't think a ton of people are going to pay up for Travis Kelce because you have all these cheap options that aren't going to get that are going to get much more ownership, like Isaiah Pacheco, Rashee Rice, absurdly cheap, Mark Andrews, absurdly cheap, Xavier Worthy, absurdly cheap, right? So I think that's going to leave Travis Kelce in this like no man's land where I think he'll probably be a bit under owned than he should be. Like him in GPPs, we know Rice probably going to dominate the usage. Same with Travis Kelce. We know where the targets are going on this team, right? It's Travis Kelce, it's Rashee Rice, Pacheco will get some targets. Then rest of the targets are going to be sprinkled between like Justin Watson, Sky Moore, Noah Gray, etc. Absolute dusted Juju, just dusty. But yeah, no strong takes. I think he's a good GPP play. And then we got into the running backs. I really, really like Isaiah Pacheco. Around some optimals, he wasn't really in, he's in some of the top optimals, but home favorites, Belka back. I'm expecting a ton of work here for Pacheco. He'll be involved in the passing game as well, so he has that high floor with the ceiling. Love him. I also think he might be a bit under-owned. We'll see, though. And then Rashee Rice, same kind of thing with like Mark Andrews. I think he's a piss nuke. Now, matchup, it's fine. I think people are overblowing it, but we saw towards the end of the year, just absolute monster usage. In the beginning of the season, he wasn't playing as much, but towards the end, I mean, just 8 targets, 9 targets, 4 targets, 12 targets. Just absolutely cooking towards the end of the year. I think he's going to dominate the usage. He plays in the slot. He plays outside. He has a high ceiling. He's a really high floor with a really high ceiling. So really like Rashee Rice. I think he's going to be so popular. I think it's for good reason. I think he's a phenomenal play, phenomenal captain option. Really like Rashee Rice. And then we get to Xavier Worthy as well. They're kind of thin at wide receiver, so I think they're going to have to play him a ton. 5.8K, I think that's too cheap. He looks like one of the better value plays in this slate. I really like him. Same thing with Harrison Butker. If you're playing Mahomes and you want some more correlation, you could play Butker with him. Chiefs D, kind of similar takes with the Baltimore D. And then we get into like the punts here. So like my favorite punt, 2 punts on KC are going to be Noah Gray and Justin Watson. Watson should be on the field the most out of like Watson, Sky Moore, Hardman, the rest of the wide receivers, right? You know, he has some upside. They will target him downfield as well. So if he catches a ball for like, I don't know, 30 yards, he could pay off this price point. Could get in the end zone as well. So if I had to pick like between Nelson Aguilar or Justin Watson, I think I'm picking Justin Watson pretty much every time. So yeah, don't mind Watson as a punt. Noah Gray, more your safer option. He should be on the field a decent amount. I think he probably looks a bit better than Justin Watson point per dollar. If you want the ceiling, I think Watson is the play, but I think Noah Gray looks better point per dollar. I don't really like the Sky Moores and stuff like that. There's so much value. I think, you know, either getting into like a Watson or Noah Gray, if you're going into this range, probably the best route to go about doing that. So that's like the stock breakdowns. Let's go into like correlation stuff. So I already mentioned you want to tell a story with your lineup in Showdown, right? Correlation matters in Showdown. We'll talk about main slates later. There's been some study, I don't want to say studies, but people have ran stats with correlation on main slates. People overusing correlation, but I don't think that's the case with Showdown. You definitely want to tell a story here. So We already mentioned like kickers, they do correlate with their quarterbacks, and people underutilize kickers every single showdown slate. Like I said, I don't think they're as good of a play on this slate with all the value, but if you do want some correlation with your quarterback, I think the kickers are good options that way. And then if I'm captaining Lamar Jackson, I'm still probably playing at least one pass catcher with him, if not two. It's like, say you want to go to like Mark Andrews. If I'm playing Lamar Jackson, I'm probably playing Mark Andrews in most of my lineups with Lamar Jackson captain. And then if you want to go to like, I don't know, if you want to fit like a Zay Flowers, that's fine. I can't build out a whole lineup. It's against DraftKings TOS. I apologize. Bateman will be unowned. That's okay, I guess. Or if you just want to go like Justin Tucker, that's fine as well. Say you want to go with like game script here. Say you want to go, okay, I think Baltimore is going to lead, I don't know, say they get like a 7-0 lead, right? They go through the air, right? Then they're just going to pound Derrick Henry. So if you're playing like Derrick Henry, maybe you go to like KC side and just stack the KC pass catchers, right? It's like Patrick Mahomes, Derrick Henry, and then a bunch of KC pass catchers, forcing KC to throw the ball, right? That's a good way about going about it. Always, if you're playing, you know, a pass catcher, you definitely want their quarterback with them. In the captain. What else? Some negative correlation stuff. So like, I probably wouldn't play a guy like Justice Hill with Derrick Henry. So like, if you're in your optimizers, you can make a roll against that. What else? I probably wouldn't play a ton of these KC punts together. Same with like the Baltimore punts. I think that's probably a bit bad. What else? I think running backs with their defenses is pretty solid way about going about it. If you want to do that, if you're making any defense lineups. What else? But yeah, mainly just tell a story. I think that's very, very important. And yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you guys had a good night. I will be over in the DFS sports subreddit if you have any questions. I love you guys, and I will talk to y'all in the next video. Have a good night.